On demand voice of Virginia.
Richmond's morning news on this Monday, May 11th. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Voice of Virginia. I'm just going to start off right now. Let me put everything else aside. Want to recognize and offer our thoughts and prayers to the family of First Lieutenant Kendrick Lamont Key Jr., U.S. Army officer whose remains were recovered after he went missing in Morocco. After military exercises, as Gary just reported. This is just breaking that the two U.S. soldiers, servicemen that have been missing in Morocco, one is from Richmond, Virginia, and his body was found. So again, our thoughts and prayers to the family of First Lieutenant Kendrick Lamont Key Jr. And we'll have more details as they become available this morning on Richmond's Morning News. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rich Herrera. I have a very busy show planned for you today. We have an exclusive interview this morning here on News Radio WRVA. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, will join us reacting to what happened on Friday. As soon as we got off the air, the Supreme Court of Virginia announced their decision striking down the referendum. The ballot was invalid because the General Assembly did not follow their own protocols and procedures. The firestorm that is lit is taking off and coming up on a life of itself. So we'll talk with Mike Johnson about that. And then we have a whole bunch of other folks to join us, and we'll get you all the information you need. Again, I tell you, if you don't wake up with Richmond's Morning News, you're playing catch up the rest of the day. So let's begin, as we do every day, by starting off with the Richmond Morning News Brief. So, folks, it feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone. By the way, today is Twilight Zone Day, so it's kind of appropriate. I feel that way. The world loses its mind over the Supreme Court of Virginia's ruling on Friday. That's the biggest story of the day.
Number one.
Today is Twilight Zone Day, and it feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone, the bizarre world, or whatever you want to call it, as we've seen just the wildest opinions, the wildest ideas when it's come to what happened on Friday with the Supreme Court of Virginia striking down and upholding the. Let me make sure we put it the right way, because I'm going to be honest with you. There is so many people that have twisted this and played mental gymnastics, and they've argued over semantics. Here's what happened on Friday. The Supreme Court of Virginia ruled on an appeal by the Democrats of a Tazewell County judge who had found that this was not proper, that the General Assembly had violated its own rules, saying that you have to have an election. Saying that you have to have a bill passed, an election, and then you pass the bill again. They started it after the election began because early voting had started. The Tazewell judge had struck it down, saying, no, you can't go forward with this. Democrats appealed to the Supreme Court of Virginia in an expedited process, saying, no. We have precedent here that says you can't get involved in this until after the election. You cannot go out there and torpedo this beforehand. Everybody said, fine, we'll follow the rules of law, and the Supreme Court of Virginia took a knee while this went on. But they said that they would be able to look at this afterwards. When they took this back up, they found that the Tazewell judge was correct, and they set aside the entire process because the Democrats violated the rules within the General Assembly to have a referendum that would change the state constitution. That's it, period. It is not overturning the will of the people. If you want to blame anybody, blame the General Assembly for trying to jam this thing through and breaking its own rules. Now, we'll have full reaction of this, including Speaker Mike Johnson. Jen Kiggins will stop by the program, and we're going to talk to some lawyers this morning as well, and a Democrat who was very, very big in the anti-gerrymandering case as well. So all of that coming up this morning on Richmond's Morning News. Again, if you don't start with us, you're going to play catch up the rest of the day. Story number 2, Trump fed up with Iran's response. That's our second big story of the day.
Number 2.
All right.
Iranian state television says that Tehran rejected the U.S. proposal, amounting it to surrender. They insisted instead on war reparations by the U.S., full Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, and an end to sanctions. Trump has drawn a hard line on the Iranian nuclear program. He has threatened to resume bombing if Iran doesn't roll back its nuclear program and reopen the strait. Iran's military is warning that countries enforcing sanctions against Tehran will face issues when their ships use the Strait of Hormuz. Several attacks against ships in the Persian Gulf have occurred over the last week.
Ridiculous. The response from the Iranians, yeah, you're going to pay us because we're winning this war and we're going to control the Strait of Hormuz. They knew these were non-starters. Again, this is their modus operandi. They keep extending. They keep teasing you. They keep saying we're willing to have legitimate negotiations. They know that's a non-starter. They're just playing games right now, and the president is getting fed up, and so is the rest of the world. We'll keep an eye on this story as things continue to unfold this morning. All right, story number 3. Donald Trump has a lot on his plate, including a trip to China. That's our third story of the morning.
Number 3.
Coming up on Thursday, a very important day. The President of the United States will visit Xi Jinping in China. It's a Thursday, Friday. There's a lot to talk about. China has come out and said, by the way, the world, you don't have to listen to the world's sanctions, or the rest of the world doesn't have to listen to the sanctions against Iran. You don't have to pay attention to that. It's a big showdown between the president of China and the U.S. That's coming up on Thursday. Story number 4. Sad news. I know there's a lot of Braves fans in town because long affiliation with the Atlanta Braves here in Richmond. A legendary manager passes away.
Number 4.
Bobby Cox passes away at the age of 84. He had spent time here in Richmond and come out to Richmond Brave games. So again, so many Braves fans because of the affiliation with Richmond and, of course, the TBS Superstation. So it's a sad day for baseball fans. Bobby Cox passes away at the age of 84. And finally, story number 5, a Virginian sets a record on The Price is Right.
Number 5.
We're going to start things off with $2,500 in cash.
All right, you want to keep going?
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
$25,000 in cash.
Oh my God.
Good. Okay, so you're going to keep on going.
$100,000 in cash.
The last 2 numbers. Oh, my daughter's birthday. I have to go.
She's going to go for it.
It's $100,000.
I have to believe. I'm going to go with it.
A mother-daughter trip to Morocco.
$240,150. Vanessa, nice job. Almost $250,000. Which makes her the biggest pricing game winner in Price is Right daytime history.
Wow. That's a big story at 6:11 on News Radio WRVA, Richmond's Morning News. I'm Rich Herrera. Vanessa McCaskill, a U.S. Army veteran from Virginia, rakes in almost $250,000. She wins $227,500 in cash plus a trip to Morocco for her and her daughter. So congratulations to one of our fellow Virginians setting a record on The Price is Right. And that is our Richmond's Morning News Brief today here on News Radio WRVA. Again, a special exclusive interview. Mike Johnson is on the program coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll hear from the Speaker of the House of Representatives on what happened with the Supreme Court and redistricting and the House races. It's going to be game on now here in Virginia. Now the map will remain 6-5. So Mike Johnson joins us coming up at 8 o'clock. Tell your friends you don't want to miss that. Let me go back over to something. I've seen so many of these things that have gone on over the weekend, and we're pretty sure the Supreme Court of the United States does not have standing to take on this case of the Supreme Court of Virginia. This is 100% Virginia constitutional law. It is 100% specific to the Commonwealth of Virginia. There are no federal laws that have been violated or federal statutes that the Supreme Court would be able to take on. Yet Jay Jones has decided that he's going to take more of our money and spend it on trying to fight this. By the way, I pointed this out over the weekend online. If you want to blame anybody for any of this, it's the General Assembly and the governor's mansion. Tell you why. You know how much money we've spent on this special election?
2 minutes to men's wellness.
$5 million spent by the Commonwealth of Virginia. Another $20 million, not reported by a lot of people, another $20 million has been spent on the special election for redistricting that had the cloud of uncertainty over it since the get-go. When the Tazewell judge first ruled and the Supreme Court of Virginia said, we'll work on it after the election. $25 million of your tax dollars was spent on a special election that shouldn't have taken place in the first place because the Democrats didn't follow their own rules inside the General Assembly. There's a lot of people that are spinning right now. I'm going to tell you really what's going on. We're going to get to the bottom of all of this morning here on Richmond's Morning News. So thanks for joining us, everybody. 6:13 this morning here on News Radio WRVA. Again, you can always comment, and I really want to hear from people this morning on the James River Air text line. Our text line number to sound off this morning is 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140. We'll take your text messages all morning long. We read the best ones coming up at 6:55, 7:55, and 8:55. 6:55, 7:55, and 8:55. We'll have your text messages this morning here on Richmond's Morning News. Today's program brought to you in part by Men's Wellness Centers. All right. You sat around this weekend. It was Mother's Day. It was nice. Your wife, she was smiling. What about you? Were you smiling? Did you have a good Mother's Day weekend, or did you feel like an old man? You're like, oh, what is going on with me? I'm tired. I can't focus. Something's off.